Good morning, everyone. This is Tim Wilmot speaking from Wizard Systems. Thanks for joining me today for GoldMine 101, our regular series of short GoldMine presentations focusing on different GoldMine topics. And this morning, I'm going to go over how to handle old GoldMine users, not old in age, but users who may no longer be using your GoldMine system. Now, this presentation will be about a quarter of an hour or so. It's just an overview of this feature, not meant to be in-depth training. There could be lots of things you may need to consider when removing old users from your GoldMine system. I'm just going to touch on the key areas there. My company, Wizard Systems, offer many extensive training options should you want to explore them with us, covering all sorts of GoldMine topics and different levels as well. Now on the call today, we've got people using all sorts of different versions of GoldMine. Pretty much everything I'll be talking about is relevant to all versions of GoldMine, apart from maybe some really old versions of GoldMine. If anyone out there is using GoldMine 5 or GoldMine 6, then some of what I mentioned may not be in your system. Now the audio part of this presentation is one way only. If you've got any questions, please type those into the question box on your meeting control panel, and I'll do my best to answer those at the end. Also, at the end, I'll be giving you an update on any GoldMine product news to mention to you, just to keep you up to date. The call is being recorded, by the way, so after the presentation, you will receive an automatic email from our system with a link to the recording that you can watch and play back at your leisure. And we are likely to post it to our YouTube channel as well. Okay, so let's get started. Just a brief mention about my company, Wizard Systems. We are a top supplier of GoldMine. We've been doing it a long time. We've implemented well over 3,000 GoldMine installations in our time. We cover any aspect of GoldMine. We also supply and support well over a dozen popular GoldMine add-ons that extend its functionality. Popular systems like QuoteWorks, Constant Contact, MailChimp, IntelliClick for email marketing, and so on. And we supply any sort of service, additional services you may need as regards assistance in customizing GoldMine, installing upgrades, integrating GoldMine to other applications, and so on. Training, we can train you at your place. You can come to our offices. We're based just north of Bristol. And also we do, increasingly popular is doing training online. If you don't have much time available or don't want to travel, then we can do training online at a time to suit you. And finally, we've got a GoldMine help desk here ready to answer any of your calls. Okay, so let's go into GoldMine then and talk about how we manage users that may have left the system. We need to tidy up the system. So in my example here, we've got a typical GoldMine contact record. And as per usual, we may have allocated records to a GoldMine user. So in this example here, I've got an account manager field, and we can see there that Jane looks after that customer. So let's imagine Jane no longer uses GoldMine. Maybe she's been taken over by a colleague. And we need to think about how we remove Jane from the system and maybe some outstanding activities, and maybe reallocate things to her replacement. So the first thing to really get a handle on is, well, how many leads, how many contacts, customers has Jane been working with? So of course we could do a quick filter, we could do a quick search there just to see all of the records that Jane is looking after. And of course there may be some outstanding activities that Jane will have against those contacts as well. So you can do the quick searches, creating a filter, of course. You can also go to the activities list here. So we can now see all of the outstanding activities of Jane. So in the top left corner there, I've selected Open Activities. And then as regards the date range, I'm going to select All. And then User, obviously Jane, for my drop-down list of users. So we can then get a handle on how many outstanding activities Jane may have. There's quite a lot there. So there's two key features, capabilities of GoldMine to now manage and move on these contacts and activities to somebody else. And also finally, remove Jane from the system. So the first thing I'd like to point out to you is quite a unique thing in GoldMine that not many other CRM systems have in an example like this, and it's called the Territory Realignment Wizard. So on my Tools menu and under Data Management, there's this Territory Realignment Wizard. Basically, it's going to do a number of things at the same time to reallocate leads from one person, an old person, to the new person, and also do something with the outstanding activities, pass on the activities mainly, maybe to a new user. In this wizard, we're getting the familiar warning message, make sure you do a backup, because there's no edit undo in what we're about to do. You can't go back. You'd have to resort to a backup if you'd have made some mistake. So welcome to the Territory Realignment Wizard. It's just going to confirm what I've said. And first step is, well, what records are we working on in our GoldMine database? The default is all contact records, but I previously created a little filter here of all of Jane's customers. So I'm just creating a filter where salesperson equals Jane. Right, step number one, well, we obviously want to replace Jane's name with her replacement. So if I select this account manager field there with the new value, so let's imagine Trevor has taken over. Obviously there's a few other fields that we could replace as well, primary fields if we wanted to adjust those at the same time. Now click Next. This is where we can reassign all of the activities from Jane to a new person. So similar to as I did before, select Jane, swap the activities, move them over to Trevor. Of course, you can then stipulate exactly what types of activities you want to move there. Maybe some examples where you want to keep certain activities under Jane's name. You click Next, you hit Finish, and in the background it will quickly, it's quite a quick process, it will move everything from Jane over to Trevor or another user. So that's that. Now, the other thing that you want to consider is finally removing Jane's login from the system. And again, there's a handy little feature of this process that will again tidy up the system as well. So back to my Tools menu. Incidentally, that Tools menu, not all of your users may see these options here. So down to User Settings. There's all of my users there. So highlight Jane, and then we delete Jane from the system. And do you see here, we're obviously removing Jane's login, but also we do have another option to do something with these outstanding activities, to reassign them to some other user, to maybe complete them with some kind of result code. Maybe they never took place, for example, or leave the user's activities and email as is, or delete the users, delete them all and remove them from your system. So a nice way of, together with the Territory Realignment Wizard, to remove this user and make sure your system's tidy, because nothing's worse than when you're going through a GoldMine system and seeing information about old users that never exist, and old activities. They're just cluttering up your system. So key things to remember there when users leave your system. So I'd now like to hand over my presentation to our question and answer session. So if you can locate your question box on your meeting control panel, I'd be happy to answer any of your questions. So first question from Tony, what about history? Are they changed? Things, in my example, things that Jane has done, activities that Jane's done, emails received, they will stay as is. They will not be affected by this. So you can always go back and see what old user Jane had done. Next question from Kelly. With the Outlook link, what happens to the outstanding tasks? Well, in fact, you've got two options with the Outlook integration with GoldMine. I think the default is that they would actually be removed from Outlook, but if you don't want that to happen, Kelly, you can leave them as is in Outlook. They're removed from GoldMine, but Outlook is not affected. Next question from John. If an ex-user has a generic email address such as info@ and they are removed, how do we reassign the email address to another user? That would be in the setup of the new user, John. You would actually set this. So this is an email address that belongs to a user. Well, in the setup of the new user, when you set up their email preferences and their one or many accounts that you manage within GoldMine, that's where you would set it up there. So nothing I've described will affect those email addresses. That's done really in the user setup, John. Right. Next question from Dale. Can you add some history to identify that the change took place so you can pull out these records again in the future? Perhaps you want to temporarily assign records until a new member of staff is appointed. Yes, exactly, Dale. That territory realignment wizard where I was changing Jane's name to, say, Trevor, there were a couple of other fields there. You could use that in exactly the same way. Maybe there's a little sort of miscellaneous field in your GoldMine system on your GoldMine screens that you could use for that purpose to retrospectively go back and do something with those records. So exactly, Dale, that's what you could do. Next question from Lynette. After deleting a user, the name remains sometimes when selecting something else. How do you remove it? Well, that might be in some of the lookups. So, for example, in the salesperson's field on the GoldMine customer contact record, then yes, exactly, you would need to go through some various lookup lists, pick list, F2 list there, call them what you will, to finally remove that user there. Right, I don't think there's any more questions coming through. If any more late questions come through, I will answer those separately via email. Just like to bring you up to date now with any recent GoldMine news. We are running a GoldMine reporting course to do with Crystal Reports on Wednesday the 28th. We've got places available there. Crystal Reports is one of the preferred reporting tools for GoldMine, very popular reporting add-on for GoldMine, and so we're running a full day course on Crystal Reports as it relates to GoldMine on the 28th. Please contact us for more information, pricing and agenda. Also, there's a new GoldMine website that's just been launched. Go to goldmine.com to see that. A new sort of makeover, if you like, to the main GoldMine website. We did announce last week the 4th hotfix for version 2016.1. So 2016.1 is the latest version of GoldMine. Check what version of GoldMine you're on by going to Help and About, or when you log into GoldMine, you'll have the login banner there that should state your current version. So these regular monthly hotfixes come out with additions, changes to the GoldMine application. As long as you've got your GoldMine maintenance contract in place, you've got access to all of these new versions and upgrades as well. Also, please email me with any future suggestions on topics that we may want to cover on these Tuesday sessions. Next week, I might be covering how you handle product interests in GoldMine, or maybe tracking what you've sold in GoldMine, different ideas, different ways in which people are using GoldMine to further profile and categorize their customers as regards what they're interested in and what have we supplied to that client. So keep an eye out for the invitation to that, which should go out late this week, Friday, or maybe first thing Monday morning. So thanks very much for your time this morning and your support of GoldMine. Please email me, tim@wizard-assist.com, with any questions you've got. But thanks very much for attending and have a nice day.